This is a definitive and experiential comparison of the Sony WH-1000XM5s, the Apple Airpods Max, the Bose NC700s, and the Sennheiser Momentum 3 ANC headphones, and all from the perspective of an audio engineer. With over 15 years of experience mixing for concerts, bands, and events, I can provide insight and high-end professional equipment into this video to help you make the best choice for your preferences. For all of you that watched my previous in-depth review and comparison between the XM5s, XM4s, AirPods Max, and Bose QC45s, and you wanted me to do the same but swap out a few of the other headphones, I made this video for you. Since this is an experiential review, you'll want to make sure that you're wearing headphones or earbuds in both ears for this video. Go ahead, pause, and make sure you put them on now before we continue. In order to experience this video, I used these $2,000 ears that have high-end microphones that cover the entire human hearing range, and that gives you that high-quality recordings of headphones so you can hear the comparative differences between them as we listen to a variety of different musical styles and situations. I'll even let you hear my custom EQ settings for the Sony XM5s and the Sennheiser Momentum 3s, and you can gain access to my custom EQs by becoming a channel member. So let's hear what it sounds like if you're wearing these headphones and listening to music. In each test in this video, we'll start and end with the original reference track and cycle through each headphone. You'll see which headphone you're listening to by looking at the label up top. This track is filled with a lot. Listen for the sub-frequencies, the high end from the snare and hi-hat, and the mid-range from the synth. By the way, just so you understand the flow of this video, we'll listen to a song sample between each section of this video. There are also chapters available so you can easily find your way around, and those are listed in the description along with links to purchase anything mentioned in this video. Now, we've already gone over the build, fit, and feel a bit for the XM5s and the Apple Airpods Max in our last video, so we'll focus a bit more on the Bose and Sennheisers for this one. Out of all of these headphones, only the Sennheiser Momentum 3s have the ability to fold up into a more compact form factor, and that makes it a lot easier to travel with, even if the case is a little bit floppy. The hinge is made out of metal and nicely snaps into position to stay open or closed, and I love how the metal design adds a more retro type feel. It also provides a means of adjusting the ear cup placement, but I do worry about accidentally bending the metal and it becoming more permanently deformed. So far so good though. Also, you can easily turn them on and off by just unfolding them or folding them. This is great, but also annoying. You see, if you just happen to accidentally close them just a little bit, then they turn off. But it's way better than having to put the AirPods Max into its floppy case. The Bose NC700s are consistent in design with the Sony WH-1000XM5s and the AirPods Max, where only the ear cups rotate outwards. That way you can lay them down on a table easily if you take them off, but they also face outwards if you happen to have them hanging around your neck. And they also have the same tube-like designs to adjust the ear cups, with the AirPods Max feeling the most smooth and premium with its metal build all around. The Bose consists of some design decisions that I'm not too sure about. For instance, the tube design causes some scuffs on the tube itself, and I find that the actual headband feels sharpish on the edges, which just emphasizes how plasticky it can feel. In terms of comfort, both the XM5s and Bose NC700s feel the most comfortable to me, with a fairly similar type of ear cup design and squishiness along with feeling quite light. I've asked a few people their thoughts, and they agree with me that the XM5s are just a slight touch more comfortable than the Bose NC700s. Now, a lot of you asked in the comments about ear cup depth. It's about 3/4 of an inch for the Bose and Sony, and just shy of an inch on the Sennheisers, and close to 1 1/4 of an inch for the AirPods Max. Next in line for comfort, it would be the AirPods Max. They have the most firm clamping force on my head and a cloth-like feel for the ear cups, which might feel a bit scratchy or coarse to some people on their skin. Then finally, we have the Sennheiser Momentum 3s. They are still quite comfortable, but the least comfortable of the lineup, with what feels like a more plushy and full feel to the ear cups that make you feel immersed in the ear cups, so their presence is very much felt. I do love that they have the more hand-sewn leather look to it, which just adds to that retro vibe that looks so cool. Let's listen to the next sample. In this one, listen to the low end, the reverb from the vocals and the snare, and the sharpness of the hi-hat, and then also look at the stereo spread from the wah-wah sounds all around you, and let me know what you notice in the comments. Now, it's nice that the Sennheisers have physical tactile buttons and a bunch of them, but they also strangely feel a bit less elegant than Apple's simple but effective execution with their 2-button dial combo, or Sony's various swipe and tap gestures. You see, you have to be really precise and remember where each button is, and oddly, the transparent hearing and transparency mode is based on a physical switch on the headphones that impacts whether or not you can toggle its setting in the app. It's just a bit clunky. Much like the XM5s, Bose uses a touch gesture control system for all of the typical controls, which includes the ability to adjust the volume levels on the right ear cup. And then along with that, you have some buttons for other functions like power and noise cancellation. The only downside is that the touch area is much smaller and limited to the front half of the right ear cup compared to the full flat surface of the cup like the XM5. Now, one interesting quirk that I found that is probably extremely specific to me is the volume level jumps on the Sennheiser Momentum 3s. That rhymes. I can't really quite get it to the level that I want. You see, at 11 clicks up from 0, it sounds solid, but just a touch quieter than where I want it to be. When I move it up 1 click from there, the volume is too loud, and I'm just concerned about damaging my hearing. So I tend to err on the side of caution, and I have it a bit quieter than what I want. But it's just frustrating that the way that these handle volume jumps is just so big. Now, all of them also work with the assistant options on your particular device, with the AirPods Max obviously working best with iPhones and Siri, and then all of them have a sensor that's able to detect whether or not you're wearing them or not. That's pretty standard now, but I will say that the Bose sensor is a bit bulky and bumpy to the touch, which I would imagine wouldn't hit everyone's ear with that design, but every ear is also different, so keep that in mind. We're just rhyming away. It's also important to note that the AirPods Max charges over a lightning cable, which is just a dying breed, and may prove to be frustrating if you have to keep one cable around and search for one just for your headphones. It's not like I had to do that or anything for this review. Out of all these headsets, only the AirPods Max and the Sony XM5s have quick pair abilities, so that's AirPods for iOS and XM5s for Android. But at the time of filming this video, the Sennheiser Momentum 4s have been teased, so hopefully those have quick pair abilities. Oh, and the Sennheisers are the only ones that have NFC pairing, which I know a lot of people find very useful. Okay, this next track is very mid-rangey and warm and has a lot of soul to it. It can really kind of show the differences between the mid-range between all the different headphones. So listen to her vocals, the electric guitar lines, and the keyboard. Now, it's hard to deny that Apple, Sony, and Bose are the industry leaders for active noise cancellation, or ANC, and they don't just lower the overall volume of your environment, but they actually make you feel a bit isolated from that environment because of how much sound they cancel out. So the question is, how do the Sennheiser Momentum 3s stand out next to all of them? So let's compare them all together and see what we notice. Now, I'm pleasantly surprised to see the Bose NC700s perform really well, especially compared to the Sony XM5s. In many ways, they're on par with each other, but which one you actually personally prefer will really correlate with whether or not you want a noise cancellation that focuses on a more mellow sound for anything that breaks through, or one that allows a bit more high-end to bleed through like the Bose NC700s. While the AirPods Max are amazing, they simply are not up to par with others for ANC here. Sennheiser, well, they're not in the same league as any of the others in my opinion. But I'd love to know who you think did it the best and why. Let me know in the comments. Now, it's one thing to cancel out the mid-range and high-end of the environment around you. It's another thing to cancel out low sub-frequencies. So let's check that out. For the low end, well, the Sennheisers are still outclassed by the others where not much was cancelled at all. The AirPods Max and the XM5s are very close to on par with each other with their own unique takes on how it handles low end. Then you have the Bose NC700s that surprised me again and managed to have the most subdued low end out of all of them, but manages to have a lot more of the high end persist. So while the Bose is doing great for the low end compared to the rest, low end is only part of an entire frequency range. So imagine people will have different preferences for all of these. By the way, if you appreciate all the work that went into this video, we have super thanks enabled on the channel, channel, or you can become a channel member and get exclusive content like audio samples from some major artists we couldn't include in this video for copyright reasons. And videos like these take over 40 hours to make with over $20,000 worth of equipment to give you the best headphone review possible, and all of your support helped us buy some of the headphones in this video, so we couldn't have done this review without you. For this song, pay attention to the clarity of the attack on the acoustic guitar strings, and then how forward or present the mid-range is on the body of the guitar and the vocals.
When the nights get cold, sometimes when I look over, I see you by a fire with your hands out in the open, and I wonder if you're singing an autumn song, or if I'm singing all alone. I must be singing on my own.
Transparency mode is an extremely helpful feature that gives the ability to hear and engage with your surroundings without having to take off your headphones. And every one of these have varying levels of quality and can be enabled by a touch of a button, an adjustment in the app, or automatically enables when you talk, like on the XM5s. Here are some samples. Okay, so now we're outside and... Okay. Well, there you go. You can hear that. We're outside by an intersection testing out the transparency mode of the Apple Airpods Max. How do you think it sounds? And here's what transparency mode sounds like with the Sony WH-1000XM5s. How does it sound? And here's what the Sennheiser Momentum 3 sound like in transparency mode next to a busy intersection. How do you think it sounds? And here's what the Bose NC700 sound like in transparency mode next to an intersection. How does it sound? And this is what these ANC earbuds that I'm wearing right now sounds like just normally without a headset on. You can hear everything around me with the traffic, just kind of for control. As a whole, I still believe the AirPods Max are the best sounding for transparency mode. The key thing that makes them sound the most real and transparent is how well it captures and outputs the higher frequencies in your environment like your real ears. The XM5s are also fantastic and may be more fitted for those who are not seeking to be like real life, but filtering out your environment so you hear more of what you actually want to hear, like people's voices. This is very effective, but of course this comes down to preference. Now this song has a lot of great reverb going on. Listen to how forward the vocals sound and if you can hear much of the percussive instruments in the background, or if they just sound really buried in the mix. This is where the mid-range can really bring out some instruments, and the bass guitar is also a great part of the song.
I need to get away. I need a West Coast sunset paradise. I need to get away. I need a place to clear my mind. I need to get away. I need a West Coast sunset paradise. I need to get away.
Now let's test out how the microphones perform both inside where it's quiet and outside in a busy area. We'll also check out the call quality experience, and to help financially support videos like these and provide you with the value you're looking for while saving you time, I'll test out the mics while telling you about this video's sponsor, Descript. Descript is an all-in-one audio, video, and transcription tool that makes editing as easy as typing in a doc. We're using Descript here more and more as the team expands as we try to offer more value to you. Here are just a few ways that we're using it. Instead of paying someone by the minute to manually create closed captions for us, we simply drag and drop the video file into Descript and it transcribes it in just a few short minutes. If I need to make a small correction, I can do so easily in the text editor, and then I just upload it to YouTube, so it's super easy. I process things out loud, so it's easier for me to just sit down and talk out loud about a product with someone and have it all notated. So we record our video calls, and Descript would transcribe it for us with the power to tell who is talking. From there, we easily rewrite what's transcribed into a script. I've considered starting a podcast, and I love that you can make your audio sound really great with studio sound. You can also easily remove filler words in the doc view, and it'll cut out all those ums from the audio, and the most insane feature is that it can learn your voice with the overdub feature, and you can type out a phrase and it'll sound like you. There's so much more that you can do with Descript, so if you do anything with podcasts, video editing, tutorials, transcriptions, and more, you should totally check out Descript. It's saving us a ton of time and money. So check it out by clicking the link in the description, and thanks to Descript for sponsoring this portion of the video. Here is what the AirPods Max microphone sounds like next to a busy intersection with a bunch of cars. What do you think it sounds like? How do you think it sounds? Words are hard. I don't know. And here is what the microphone quality sounds like on the Bose NC700s on a busy intersection here with a bunch of cars. How do you think my microphone sounds with all the noise going on? Okay, now we're testing out the microphone with the Sennheiser Momentum 3s next to a busy intersection just to see how it picks it up and sounds. What do you think? And here is what the Sony WH-1000XM5 sound like for the microphone next to a bunch of cars.
and noise and this clanking thing that's in the distance. Oh, that's a flag. Okay, cool.
What do you think about the microphone quality so far? Any observations there?
And here's what the call quality would sound like if you were to receive an HD phone call and you're wearing the Apple Airpods Max. And this is what it would sound like if you were to receive an HD phone call and you're wearing the Bose NC700s. And here's what it would sound like if you were to receive an HD phone call and you're wearing the Sennheiser Momentum 3s. Here's what it would sound like if you're to receive an HD phone call and you're wearing the Sony WH-1000XM5s.
How do you think they all performed? Let me know in the comments. It's interesting that both the Bose and the Sennheisers did require me to boost the volume a lot in order to get them in a similar level. I don't know what's up with that. For this track, listen to how clear the bass guitar is, as well as the electric guitar, and how bright the cymbals are in this track. Now, in my previous review, we compared a bunch of different headsets and we noticed that the Bluetooth quality or distance is pretty much the same, save for maybe just a few meters. And I anticipate that's probably going to be the same here, but we do have some new headphones here, so we just need to make sure. Now, instead of going through my house and showing you the layout of it, which I don't feel the most comfortable with, we're doing it outside. So we have this distance here of different trees, and this is kind of some context for how far apart they are. Now let's do the XM5s for Bluetooth. I was like, oh wait, this is gonna go forever. That's funny. Let's try that again. Okay, XM5s with Bluetooth. Getting accidental cardio in and I hate it. Now let's check out the Momentum 3s for Bluetooth. Oh, that's not good. I am really shocked about that one. That's not very far at all. Bluetooth on the Airpods Max. I was running on a sidewalk and then there's a freaking pond there. Like, how do I get around that? But I kept going. But here's an interesting thing. In terms of being able to reconnect, it required me to get a bit closer than the XM5s in order to reestablish that connection reliably. So it was reestablishing it, but it would cut out a little bit here and there. Oh man, I need to drink water. All right, now let's check out the Bluetooth distance on the Bose NC700s. So what are the conclusions? Seems like the Airpods Max have the furthest distance away, but in terms of connection, once it's established, it seems like the XM5s are the most reliable. Even the Bose had some issues with it still dropping out a bit, trying to reconnect, about halfway down this sidewalk. So it's really interesting. The XM5s, once they got right past this one line, it was rock solid from there. And unfortunately, Sennheisers, not so great. Bummer. As for whether or not you should use any of these for gaming, I really wouldn't, and it's a bit complicated. You see, all of them are extremely delayed by a lot, except for the Sennheiser Momentum 3s and the XM5s. But that seems off. You see, in order to get the audio routed from a game like Apex to these headphones, you have to choose the hands-free AG audio, and it sounds like a low-fidelity version of the audio. I've been able to get the full audio on the XM5s before and managed to get 6 frames of delay in this mode. So the low-quality mode is clearly helping with latency, but it sounds awful. Either way, there must be some setting that I'm not aware of, and I'm sure I won't be the only one that will encounter this, so if anyone has a reason or solution to this, please let me know in the comments so we can help each other out. Now, wired is definitely a dramatic improvement. If you must use these for gaming, you will want to make sure that you have an audio cable. Now, unfortunately for mobile, the experience is still quite bad and quite delayed, with the best option being the Apple Airpods Max, but it's still not great. So using any of these may be more fun for something like Candy Crush, but not Apex. Now this next track, you'll be able to hear my custom EQ settings for the Sennheiser Momentum 3s and the Sony WH-1000XM5s. Keep in mind that the pattern in which I switch between headphones and EQs is different than before. For both of the headphones, I brighten up their high end to make it feel like there wasn't a blanket over the speaker, so to speak. Sony's are particularly dark in this area, so I have to be really aggressive about brightening them up.
Break the chains, let them testify. because yeah, gonna walk with the angels in the city so fatal. Fall into the flames. Don't knock my reckless ways. We'll be unbreakable, unmistakable. Live in overdrive when the world is waking up. And the wolf will taste no blood. We'll be unbreakable, unmistakable. Live in overdrive.
You know, for the Sennheisers, I admit I wasn't sure what to expect. I generally find their earbuds to be rather underwhelming, and they really don't live up to the name and reputation of Sennheiser. But their headphones, well, they have an incredible reputation. You see, for all the sound recordings that we've heard from the Sennheisers, I turned on the high-end sound tuning, and I imagine that seeks after a common sound profile that is generally sought after for a more neutral and pleasant sound, and they call that the Harman Target. I was actually pleasantly surprised at how balanced it sounds compared to the other headphones. But like most people, there is a little bit of an adjustment and embellishment that I would want to make to the Harman Target sound in order to get the sound that I prefer. So I did brighten it up a bit and adjusted the mids to match that, and I have to admit, I really love the way that these sound, and it's crazy that I can do it all on a simple 3-band EQ of low, mid, and high in the app. And while the Bose app has the same 3-band EQ options, I overall don't find it to be easy to get the sound I want from the stock app or even a more robust EQ app like Wavelet, because the sound is just so opinionated and there's so much mid-range removed from it. Okay, for this next song, it has a really killer bass line on it. Pay attention to that, the synth, and the vocal reverb. Like I mentioned in my previous video, the XM5s have a good starting point for sound and handle EQ very well to get something that is quite solid with good mid-range and clear highs. But without my custom EQ, it struggles with that typical dark highs and tubby lows that can make it feel really beefy and heavy in many ways, but without much clarity or sense of control. The Bose and Airpods Max both go for that cliche scooped hi-fi sound that lacks a lot of mid-range definition and focuses on boosting the lows and the highs. That means instruments and voices are not present and forward in the mix, but end up sounding a bit more subtle, if not buried in the mix at times, which can make things feel less intimate, and that might go against the intention of the artist. Now, if you want access to my EQ settings for the XM5s, XM4s, and Sennheiser Momentum 3s, all you have to do is become a member by hitting the join button next to the subscribe button. Now, keeping what I just mentioned about all the quirks about each headset in mind, this next song is a perfect way to really hear these characteristics easily. This song is an Arena Stomper that throws a wide spectrum of frequencies at you. Pay attention to the high end and the mid-range changes between headsets. Some headsets will sound shrill in the high end where there's a hi-hat, and some will sound hollow from the mid-range being scooped out. Now, the question you probably have is, well, should you buy it? And as any good reviewer would say, it depends. And any good YouTuber would also say links for all of them and some of the gear that I use are found in the description and help support the channel. Now, here are some things to consider. If you want the best ANC, go with the Bose NC700s or the Sony XM5s. If you like a cool retro look, go with the Sennheiser Momentum 3s. If you want the best transparency mode, go with the Airpods Max or Sony XM5s. If you're planning to use your headphones with Android or Windows or don't want to use a lightning cable anymore, do not get the Airpods Max. If you want the most comfortable, go with the XM5s or Bose NC700s. If you need the most ear cup depth, consider the Airpods Max. If you want the most travel-friendly option, go with the Sennheiser Momentum 3s. If you want the best microphone quality, go with the Sony XM5s. If you want the best build quality, go with the Airpods Max. If you'd get frustrated with confusing and not as easy to navigate buttons, consider how the Sennheiser Momentum 3s might bother you. If you want what I think is the best sound quality, provided you adjust EQ to get there, go with the Sennheiser Momentum 3s. But hey, some aspects of sound can be subjective and based on your preferences, so you're welcome to have a different preference from me here. Then you have the prices to consider. The Sony XM5s coming in at a list price of $399, the Apple AirPods Max coming in at a list price of $549, the Bose NC700s coming in at a list price of $379, and the Sennheiser Momentum 3s coming in at a list price of $399. Of course, these can all go on sale at various times, so things can change up a bit, and you can check out the links in the description to find out the current price. When it all comes down to it, whether or not you should buy these depends on what you specifically care about more, and it's my job to help present all these different points to consider to find the best fit for you, rather than trying to force my own preferences on you. That's why I try to present things to you in an objective way rather than subjective ways, so you're able to make your own conclusions. But I know that some of you want to know my personal preference, so I'll let you know after this song. This is a track from my personal friend Hannah Parrott. Listen to how dynamic the track sounds, and if you can hear all the layers from the horns to the various strings and melodic percussion instruments. Now, if you really want to know my preference, I can definitely say that I would not get the Bose NC700s. I just feel like the build quality should be much better for the price, and I generally don't prefer the Bose sound profile, as I like to have the entire frequency range in my headphones, and the mid-range is just not there, and I like mid-range. The AirPods Max definitely have a pleasant sound in many ways, but they can become really harsh on the high end for some songs. And I often find that the mid-range is rather buried. It has that cliche scooped hi-fi sound. In my previous video, I picked the Sony XM5s with my custom EQ, and I'd say that's still the case, and I'd pick them if I'm going out and about and traveling because they're so well-rounded. They have really great comfort, ANC, microphones, and the ability to interact with it very easily. But if I were to stay home and wanted to focus specifically on sound quality, I have to go with the Sennheiser Momentum 3s with my custom EQ. I honestly wasn't expecting to like them this much. They have a very clean sound to them that doesn't sound super artificially colored or adjusted while maintaining some good punch to it. You see, good sound quality really matters to me a lot as an audio engineer, so this is big for me. And I can't wait to check out the Sennheiser Momentum 4s when they come out and compare them with these. So make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon for when that video comes out, or it'll be linked in the description if it's released by the time you're watching this. Now, a lot of you have asked me to include a metal song in my videos, and trust me, I want to include an all-out metal song. I actually am a big fan of metal, but I have to use licensed music, so my choices are limited. However, I found a really great band that I really like that's a bit heavier than all the other options. They have some really punchy drums and some crunchy guitars with some great ambient overtones. This really highlights how the mid-range is handled on each headphone. So let's close out this video with this song. Let me know what you think about this immersive and experiential review, and what do you like to see in future reviews like this, and how I can improve them. Let me know which headphones you prefer, and make sure to purchase them by clicking the link in the description. Also, go check out these other videos of mine about audio. Thanks for watching This Is Tech Today. Until next time.